We're here, the Fighting Irish. We're going to be up against them. It's the West versus the South in DC. It's our first home game. You know, lots of blood to spill.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to Cardinals Stadium at Catholic University. I am Preston Thompson, joined by Roland Pratt for a very exciting match between Old Breed and Cardinal Rugby Club, I believe.
That's correct, yep. We've just started here. We've got a scrum down. It looks like it's the Old Breed got the ball.
We've had a fantastic day so far, but we've had two matches before this one, and then we've got the Coup de Gras Old Glory versus Shannon RFC from Ireland after this one.
We just had a very exciting game that just ended. Victory for the Washington Irish over Baltimore Chesapeake. Very exciting curtain raiser.
Which is Old Breed and red?
No, these are.
Okay.
This is Old Breed. The Cardinals are in the red and blue trim.
All right, a great return by the Cardinal fullback here, dicing through the defense. with power.
Very
I
good.
hear it.
Yeah. We
Now
got
let's
some
see.
echoes.
This is going to come back soon. You didn't miss anything, folks. No tries were scored. No problem. So while we're waiting, I guess we could preview a little bit of the Old Glory versus Shannon match. I've been going through the roster here. A lot of local guys on the Old Glory roster.
Absolutely. Half the team is made up of what we call the Capital Selects, which are all from the Mid-Atlantic area and from several club sides around the area. So it's great. This is a great opportunity for them to test themselves in the professional arena. And even though it's just an exhibition season, these guys are going to try to make names for themselves and hopefully make it onto the game day roster to begin league play, which starts next year.
Yeah, so I saw that some players, I believe, made the roster due to their performance at combines that Old Glory had. I believe they had 4 or 5 around this area.
They did. The biggest one, I believe it was the biggest combine ever, was actually here on this field a few weeks ago for the DC combine, and several players made names for themselves there and have been on at the minimum on the training squad, and maybe 1 or 2 of them actually made the game day starting squad. So that's fantastic for them and exactly the reason we would want it to happen. And hopefully we can see more Mid-Atlantic players making a name for themselves in the MLR.
Yeah, just going through some of the names that stood out to me. One of them was Matthias Sema from Bethesda, from Rocky Gorge. His brother's actually a capped eagle. I'm going to make the assumption that they're related since Ben Sema played at Rocky Gorge. But capped eagle, current fly half at Seattle Saracens. They had a fairly comfortable win yesterday against Glendale. But a lot of the names on here, like you said, Mo Katz. I actually had the pleasure of calling Mo Katz sevens match when he was in college at the national championship. And we spoke with him after that match because of his physical performance and how strong he was. So I'm excited to see him again. I believe he's on the reserve for this match, but I'm looking forward to seeing him out there.
He'll get a chance in the second half, I'm sure. There's no doubt. He's such a tall guy, but he has an amazing step. He is a phenomenal operator in sevens, but also equally adept in the 15s game. A couple of guys that I'm looking for to make a big impact today is the number 8, Josh Brown.
Captain,
yeah, that's right. He was the very first player signed. But he's just a very, very strong ball carrier, an all-round good ball player. He went to college at Salisbury University and has played all his rugby since then with Rocky Gorge. And they've won 2 national championships with Rocky Gorge. And on the wing, we have a very interesting character. His name is Ryan Burrows. Ryan is a local guy. He's from Virginia, but has a ton of experience in the rugby league world. He's played professional rugby in England and in Canada. And we'll be looking for his big game ability and breaking tackles and making things happen out of nothing today is what I'm particularly excited to see.
And as you mentioned, the Capital Selects are all over this roster from the front row to the back 3.
Correct.
I've got Nick Kuhl, Capital Selects at fullback, and also Dante Lopresti, whose brother's also on the squad.
That's right.
So like I mentioned, front row to the back 3, Capital Selects are everywhere. So tell me about some of those players.
So both Loprestis were Gonzaga alumni and both playing with the Capital Selects and the Potomac Exiles. Fantastic players. Dante is your prototypical hard-nosed, gritty prop. He's just going to go in and do...
Never gets in any trouble.
Never. Oh,
Never.
My goodness,
Yeah.
not at all.
No ref has ever spoken to him about anything.
Not once. Not
Yeah.
once. He has the most clean record. His brother is a phenomenal hooker, and he can also play a little bit of back row as well. But I think that Nick Kuhl will be the guy that we'll all be looking for a big game. His ability to break the line from 15 and make cover tackles while in defence. He's probably one of the very best players that Mid-Atlantic has produced over the years, particularly in the back line.
Yeah, so I keep on hearing you talk about Salisbury, Gonzaga High School. These are some of the more storied programs in American rugby history, at least over the past couple of decades. So it's interesting that we're in the capital of the U.S. We've got these storied programs. We've got local guys all over this roster. This really is a historic moment for the Mid-Atlantic even to get into that region, to have professional rugby here in the nation's capital.
All of these local guys, they've all been playing here since high school, which is a real testament to the area. Only a couple of years ago, all these guys would have had to move out of the area to further their rugby careers. And now there's finally a pathway for these guys to stay local. They can continue to work if necessary, but they're also able to fulfill their rugby dreams. And, that is truly the greatest thing that Old Glory are bringing to the table right now purely from a player's perspective.
And speaking of that pathway, it's exciting when you look at all sports. It's not just rugby. When you look at the amount of players that drop off from high school to college, and then after college, the vast majority of people aren't playing a sport after college outside of maybe a rec league. But when you look at what MLR can do for high school players now, is they can look at rugby and say, this isn't just something that I can play on the club team here. Now this is something that I can get paid to do in America. I don't have to move. I don't have to go to Australia. I don't have to go to England or New Zealand.
Correct.
Leave my family. You can do it here. Your friends can come and watch you, or you can watch it on a broadcast. These MLR games are, we're on Next Level Rugby's YouTube right now. We're streaming there. Some of these MLR games are on CBS Sports. They're on ESPN+. So, there's something to play for now, other than just trying to make the Eagles, which getting there was somewhat convoluted. Now there's a clear pathway, and you can ply your trade here, in the States.
That's very, very true. It's for years it has been very clouded as to how you could make those next steps up into the international arena. And forever, other outside countries have been saying that the United States is the sleeping giant of U.S. rugby. And I think that's kind of nonsense because it's woken up.
Yes.
And now with the, 2 years into MLR, third season, coming quickly with several new teams, including the Old Glory squad. We'll have to see, for another maybe a decade to see how this really reflects on the nation. But I can tell you right now, the level of play from year one of MLR into year two is light years ahead. So we're starting to get that feel of proper professionalism, and guys are working, day in, day out, plying their trade, working with some of the greatest coaches in the world, guys that really know their stuff. And we can see, because the product in the field has been super exciting, all the games have been competitive. And, we're starting to see fans really take an interest. It's all over the internet. We see Facebook pages popping up left and right for supporters clubs and things of that nature. And, it's, again, it's just going to be one of these things that's going to grow organically, I feel. And, today is a perfect example. We have our first ever professional game in the nation's capital. And, I think that the rugby community as a whole is very excited about that. And if we can get some of the regular sports fans out now, that'll be the tester, So, but I think that that'll come very quickly.
Yeah, when you look at the atmosphere here, as you mentioned, we're not even into that Old Glory match yet, but we've got a fantastic beer garden. We've got a kids station with games. We've got a tailgate parking lot. Cars have been parked here for hours. You can bring whatever you want to eat, drink, have your fun over there. And then we've got stands that will be in the shade once that match starts. It is a beautifully hot summer day. Should be spring, but we went right into summer.
Oh, this is summer. We're in the high 80s right
now. Yes.
I'm almost fearful for the poor Shannon fellas today.
We have to use that to our advantage.
Coming from rainy Limerick to this hazy, humid heat, it's going to be a tough ask. But I'm sure they'll be up for it.
Yeah, when you ask someone from the UK what their ideal rugby weather is, they're not going to say this.
It's not this.
But this is what you get in the US. When I think rugby, I think the sun's in the sky, the fans are sweating just as much as the players. But that's just how we're going to have to get used to it.
For sure. But, that's the nature of American sports, isn't it? We play in all weathers. And rugby is the same way. We play in the searing heat. We play in the bitter cold. We play in the rain. The only thing we don't do is thunder and lightning.
No thunder and lightning. Can't mess with that.
Nope.
Don't want to make Thor angry on that one.
Indeed.
But this game seems to be picking up. Both teams done feeling each other out. Both teams making breaks now. I know that they played 2 matches yesterday in the Honor Cup. So this is the third match, potentially more, but this might be just the third match on a long weekend. So
it looks like we got a first try going in.
Yeah, we do have we have our second try. Apparently the Cardinals have scored previously, about to push it to 10-0. Like I mentioned, both these teams feeling the fatigue of a long weekend. We've got a replay of how the score happened. Cardinals, they got swallowed up at the behind the ruck. Old Breed tried to steal it.
It was an excellent pickup there to maintain possession.
Yeah, just went weak side. No one was there on defense. Perfect support by the 9, and he just slides right in for the try.
I think the Old Breed are going to have to be a little bit more vigilant around the sides of the rucks. I've seen them being caught there a few times now, so we're at it. Whatever their defensive line is, they're going to have to figure that out pretty quickly. I think that's an area where the Cardinals are going to try to expose them now that they've done it 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, when you get tired, it's that fringe defense on the rucks that starts to be the first to go, especially on the weak side. You're not thinking about
That's it, exactly, yeah.
But when you notice the Cardinals, they had the perfect support there, so that when you have the ball, it's a little bit easier to find the energy to run.
Well, the good news, the body language seems pretty good over there still, so they're still in the game very much. That looked like an excellent kick. Well done.
That was right down the middle.
Yep, fantastic.
So pushes it to 12-0. Yeah, the body language looks fine. These are military guys, so they are used to running. Let's see if they can.
There should be no worries just yet. You know, they're down 12-0, but that can change in a club game in seconds,
yes.
Let's be honest. So all we need is a couple of line breaks here.
Score remains 12-0 as Old Breed is about to get us started. A deep kickoff using the wind to their advantage.
Well fielded.
Cardinals charging up. Expect a clearing kick, or no, they're going to
decide
decide to run for it.
Oof.
Get a nice bump right there. 8-man at the offload right before the next tackle. That's a nice bit of skill right there. So Cardinals slicing through the defense right now. Dancing along that sideline. Finally getting pushed out. Old Breed using that advantage they have of that sideline defender to steal the ball back. But that was a great little passage of play there. They're expecting a kick. 8-man cuts through, and then the back line did a little bit extra work.
We would not have expected to see some running rugby inside their own 22, but that's why they did it, I guess. And they made it back into the territory of the Old Breed. That was fantastic play from the Cardinals. Lovely little bit of interlinked passing there as well. Oh, Mike Medlich with the kick through.
Yeah, messy line out, but Cardinal retake it. Try and swing it wide, use their space out here.
Oh, skip.
They had a man advantage. Ball could not go to hand. Let's see if that ball might have gone forward.
Off your foot, you're offside.
I think that's an accidental offsides.
Yeah, accidental, no choice there, but great call by the referee to notice that.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, the wing could not handle that one.
That
so
was
we'll go
Grayson
for, yeah.
Haynes with the tap there. Unfortunately, the pass from him didn't go to hand, but it was the right idea. The Cardinals there were caught a little bit napping there on defense. Unfortunately, they just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, if you're going to take that chance, you have to make sure the ball goes to hand. Try to get one hand on there, but couldn't quite grab it in. So again, the pressure is back on Old Breed, relieved from the Cardinals after that long break they had down there. I believe we've got rolling subs in this match, which is very helpful.
With this heat and these poor fellas having played a couple of games yesterday.
Might be mandated, yes.
Yeah, I think it's the humane thing to do.
General's orders.
I see the Old Breed flanker there who's wearing, I think it's 19. I think that's Chris Frazier. He's a capped U.S. Rugby League player.
So it's interesting, Rugby League has had a bit more success in the U.S. Professionally getting organized. I know Atlanta has a team where I'm from, but it's still not as big a game, you could say globally, or at least in the States. But it's interesting how Union is still finding its footing getting to that professional setting, but League is as always, I mean, that's where the split from Union and League came from. But League, even in the U.S., still having a little bit more of an advantage or support when it comes to the professional team.
Well, the League has always had the advantage because they were professional long before Union ever was. And even in the United States, they've been able to create a little bit of a foothold in some major cities. And they've had a very successful league, and the national team has done amazing work in the World Cup recently. I think it was last year they were at the World Cup, and they beat some really formidable teams that we would have thought that they wouldn't have been able to, but they made it happen. And so that is, hopefully that's going to be a great thing for rugby union, that they can take a little bit of what we've seen already from the league boys, and we can hopefully try to implement it with the union.
Yeah, use that roadmap of professionalism that they've used, getting sponsors, how they've handled things like travel. So yeah, using that and saying, here's what worked for them, here's what we can borrow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As we have another scrum to Old Breed. Old Breed hasn't had too much of an attacking opportunity. Cardinal have had the wealth of possession. Let's see if Old Breed can change that. The scrum is not being kind to them.
Big
Cardinals
scrum.
turn it over. Unfortunate work for Old Breed there. Can't seem to maintain the ball in the set piece.
This guy has wheels, guys.
He has been
Look
broke
at
about
him
3 or
go.
4 tackles. Was he even touched?
Oh,
right
my
towards the
goodness.
end. Right down in the middle.
What a try.
That was fantastic work. So the forwards did the dirty work. The big donkeys up front stole the ball from Old Breed. It popped out the back, and it was a one-man show after that. I want to say he broke 3 or 4 tackles, but that might be generous to the people trying to tackle him, because I really don't think he was touched.
I think right at the end there was one guy had a chance, but I'm very familiar with this player. His name is Genesis Lucius. He comes from Virginia, and he is an absolute speed demon. His skills are still catching up. He's still a work in progress, but the Capital Selects have had a look at him, and he's definitely going to be part of his the future there. And he's also going to go into Colorado this year to work at a USA development camp, which is great for him. We also have him coming to play for the Beltway Sevens team in the Mid-Atlantic this season. So he's got bright things ahead of him.
And again, that's the benefit of having this MLR team. A player can look at that and say, I want to play on Old Glory. What are the steps I can take to do that? And again, you mentioned going to Colorado, potentially Glendale, I assume, to do that.
Actually, it's not going to be with Glendale this time. It's actually going to be with the USA Rugby Development.
Oh, wow.
So there's going to be players coming in from all over the country that we think have been earmarked for greater things. Genesis, for instance, is only 21 years of age.
Wow.
Maybe even 20.
I could see that youth.
Yeah, absolutely. Those young legs.
Yes.
And also a fantastic name.
Yes. Genesis Lucius. He's destined to be professional.
He really is.
I look forward to calling that name, hopefully, in the future.
Indeed.
A short kickoff this time worked out for Old Breed, but Cardinals shooting up that defensive line, shutting them down, and they've already lost, it looks like, we'll say, 15, 20 yards since we're on the football field for right now. This is what the Cardinals have been able to do. Now we have advantage. Let's see if Old Breed is going to go quick again. Hopefully they hold on to it this time, take better care of that pill.
I'm not sure if it's the best policy that they could be doing, considering the heat. I'm not sure all their players are behind it. But
well, if that's what you're going to do, if you're going to quick tap it, you have one option, and that's to score. Beautiful support and 2 quick taps in a row. Cardinals could not get their defensive line set quick enough on that second one. I believe that was the wing number 11. Did most of the work there right when he was about to be wrapped up. Offloaded the ball very quickly to his support, and a beautiful try. Getting them on the board, 19-5. That's important. You got to get on the board.
That was an important try. It felt like the game was about to get away from them, and they finally got a score on the board there. That's going to give them a little bit of confidence going forward. And fantastic line break, but an even better offload for the try. So let's hope that this becomes a very competitive game now.
You got to wonder as it moves on later into the second half if they say let's use some lineouts as opposed to quick tapping. But if you can guarantee a score, there's no reason to change what's not broken.
Also, you have to figure that a lot of these players haven't played together very often, so their line out at scrum is probably not as well oiled as it should normally be with a more cohesive club side. So you might see quite a few quick taps here today.
Now against the wind, Cardinals choose a short kickoff. Met pretty quickly. Not contending at the ruck too much. Content to set the defensive line. Old Breed goes deep over the fullback's head. That's an Old Breed bounce right there.
Lovely.
Now you mentioned this lineout being a little iffy. We haven't had what I would consider a clean lineout yet.
No.
Nothing to go from the jumper's hands directly to the scrum half's hands. There's always been a bit of ground play in between. So let's see if Old Breed look to push that advantage here on Cardinals lineout.
Well,
deep
I
in their
think if
territory.
they can get the ball, this is a perfect situation for a driving maul. You're about 5 to 10 meters out, right? Oh, you're about 10 meters out. So this would be a great, if they can get clean ball here, they'll try to drive this over, at least set a ruck and get those backs going. So let's have a look and see. Oh, it's in their hands.
Falls to Old Breed's side.
Tackle. He's good.
Near the goal line. But we did have a knock in the tackle.
Unfortunate.
And we've got halftime. Abbreviated halves. Because like I mentioned, they did play 2 to 3 matches yesterday.
Correct.
So we are going to halftime. Cardinals had the majority of possession. I mean, as you can see, it's 19-7. But Old Breed taking advantage of those opportunities when you get them. You don't need to be dominant in possession. All you need to have is a bit of good luck, and that's what Old Breed had on their score.
Well, the last few minutes, you've seen the tide change just a little bit. The Old Breed got that first score, and then they went right back down the field again. Got that nice bounce, retrieved the line out, and we're just on the line, but unfortunate. If that had been a punched-in score right there, we're talking a different game right now. But as it is, the Cardinals are pretty much in control. They just need to get settled down. The halftime came perfectly at the perfect time for them, and I think that they'll go back to their system of play come the beginning of the second half, and we'll see what happens from there.
You got to wonder, on a day like today, it's so hot, that ball's got to be soaking wet with sweat. Getting down there on the line, you have to be so careful and hold on to it. You want to stretch out for the try line, potentially might have what happened there and the ball slipped out, but defenses are going to have a much easier time ripping the ball out of your hands when the ball is when it's as humid as it is today.
Without a doubt. And we also have the reflective properties from this turf field. So however hot it is here, it's going to be 10 degrees at least hotter on the field itself. So we have the men from Munster. That looks like the Shannon fellows there that are taking the field right now.
Yeah, we've got Shannon RFC potentially getting the first look at the field on game day.
Just getting a little feel for the ball, feel for the field, the atmosphere, taking it all in. They've quite a young side, I can see, and they'll be just as excited for this game today as the Old Glory guys.
Yeah, one of the most successful teams, or the most successful team in the All-Ireland League. I know that they're not as highly ranked as they normally are after this past season. But again, having this tour of America, playing a team that they don't have any information on, neither team having much time to scout the other.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be the first couple of minutes, I assume, would be a lot of feeling out, testing out certain positions.
You would think so. It's going to be a very interesting game to see the way things go. I know the Old Glory guys are going to try to bring that physicality to the game. But whereas the Munster guys are so well drilled, they're going to go through their phases and they're going to try to maintain possession, and then they're going to try just to out rugby the Old Glory guys with their technical skills. So we'll see how that falls and if they'll be able to do that, considering that it'll be, I don't know, probably 88 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff. So but we're going to get the start of the second half going here for the Honor Cup final.
It's not much of a halftime there. I know we have rolling subs, and maybe it's just so hot they said, let's get this over with while we can. We don't want to take a break.
It's a bit of a death march.
Yes. As soon as we can. And we'll be back in a couple minutes as the second half is about to get underway.
Blue captain. Be my captain. You're my captain. White captain. Play. tackle, release, ruck. Lost. Tackle. Advantage gain, play. You're in front, get back. Play. Get out, White. Tackle. Went back, play. Get out, Blue. Held, get rid of that. Let come. Right there, hit the mark. Listen, guys, I said white release, come on.